In 1997, Luigi founded CASAVECCHIA Design Concepts to cater to the increasing demand for residential staging for high-profile real estate clients. It would later transition into the current full-service design, construction, and TV staging firm CASAVECCHIA Design Group.
So when I decided to do this on a full-time basis, I realized that to be able to get to where I am, yes, luck has a lot to do with it, but, I also knocked a lot of doors, and it's consistency, and I fell, and I was told no, and I kept going at it, and I think that's part of my success.
Luigi's name became a staple in the design world, and very soon his clients included Hollywood A-listers such as Drew Barrymore, Reese Witherspoon, Ben Stiller, Christina Ricci, and many more. Let's talk to Luigi and find out Como Lo Hizo.
Éxito.
Success.
Hábitos.
Habits.
¿Cómo lo hizo?
How do they make it?
Descubra las costumbres y secretos de los triunfadores.
Discover the habits and the secrets of those who have succeeded.
Luigi, thank you for being with us in Como Lo Hizo. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. Thank you for having me here today.
Awesome. Hey, we have so many things to talk about. I just met you, by the way. I read about you and all that, and I was very excited about, I want to be able to talk to Luigi. Let's find out what and Como Lo Hizo, what is he doing, what are his goals and all that stuff. So tell me, how did everything start?
Well, everything actually started when I was back in Lima. My mother was in the fashion business, and I can recall being 10 or 11 years old.
So you are Peruvian?
I'm from Peru,
all
originally
right.
Born in Lima, from a Spanish father and a Peruvian mother. And as a kid, my mother would just literally wake me up in the middle of the night and just ask me to redo the house. And, it's like 10 or 11 years old, completely redo a house. It's pretty amazing that I had the instincts of interior design when I was that young. But it definitely was brought up by my mother.
So it wasn't punishment. It was like,
no, it was like,
you're so good, please help
me. It was
amazing.
And it was amazing because, as I grew older, I realized that people actually needed me to help them with their homes. And I think that's, the passion starts very, very young. And it was, cemented ingrained in me from a very young age.
So what happened? You left Peru after that, or when you were young, or what happened?
Well, I was 12 years old, and historically, we know that, our countries usually have these ups and downs in political unrest. And at that time, Velasco Alvarado was the president of Peru, and there was a lot of things happening in the country. My parents decided to take me out of Lima, and I went to boarding school in Switzerland at age 12.
How was it?
Amazing.
Did you like it, or you went, Mommy, I want to go back to Lima, I want ceviche?
I think part of me, because we had traveled so much as a family. I traveled when I was very young. Both my parents were in international fashion, so they obviously, we went to different trade shows, and we spent 3 or 4 months a year in Europe.
So your parents were already into fashion?
Yes. My father, obviously, my mother was the designer of a very high-end leather manufacturing plant in Peru, and they manufactured high-end bags and shoes, and they were literally number one in Peru producing these leather goods.
What was the name?
Nella Calzatura Italiana.
Yeah, I remember that.
Everyone knew of it.
Yeah.
We did everyone, the president's wives, Miss Peru's, and you name it, all the actresses knew us, and so the business grew really fast.
And your father?
And my father was basically the banking side of it. He was in banking for many years. One of the most amazing, a brainiac, a total maths person, numbers person. And he was the financial side of the business.
So you were actually following on your mother's steps in terms of fashion and design and all that.
Yes. As a matter of fact, that's like when I came back to Peru at age 17 or 18, I would come back for 3 months in the summer or so on. I would help them. I would help them design the lines, and help them with anything that had to do with the creative input. And I think with my father, as he was mostly financial, I think that my mother really welcomed the creativity of one of her sons. And then my brother, years later, actually joined the company too, but also on the financial side.
So how would you describe yourself today? If somebody asks you, okay, Luigi, what's your profession or what do you do for a living? How would you answer that?
Well, I would say that I'm an interior designer who is now very much into the lifestyle section because, these days there's no longer the different, it used to be like fashion was a compartment of lifestyle. And then obviously there was, interior design and beauty and travel and all these different things. Now everything's under one big heading and it's lifestyle.
So you never had the doubt that what you really want to do in life. So you always were in that direction.
I was not because, you know how it is, you being from Peru as well, you do what your parents want you to do to start with, and then you obviously take off and do whatever you need to do. But I actually did 4 years at college in London for politics and economics. So that's what my parents wanted me to do.
At what moment you decided, no, this is not what I'm really, I want to do my thing, which is styling and, designing and all that?
That actually didn't come until I came to the States, because I lived in London for many years before I moved to the U.S. So, I was in, advertising in London for many years. And I think that being involved in the creative side of advertising, something clicked in my head. I'm like, you know what? I want to create. I don't want, my personality doesn't really suit the side of my brain that works on the legal side or the political side or the
office staff, administration.
I knew for a fact that I didn't want to be in an office.
So I'm asking you this because there are many people that probably going to be listening to this podcast that they are always or are also thinking about, I want to be myself.
Yes.
And the kind of profession that you have is the ultimate expression of what you want to do. Because it's you yourself, you are the product.
Yes.
I understand that you probably can take some time designing a home. You're going to put a certain kind of furniture or whatever. But at the end, if I don't trust you, I am not going to talk to you. So how do you get to that reaffirmation of your goals, of your expectations, of what you really want to be in life? What's the process? It's tough, many mistakes. So what would be your advice?
I think what happened in my case, it was definitely divine intervention because I could have been in this job in advertising for the rest of my life. I was very comfortable. I was doing a good living, and I was good at it, So I think that had the company not moved to the East Coast, and originally I actually planned to move to New York, and they decided to actually go to Atlanta instead. And they bought my contract out, and they said, you know what? If you don't want to move with us, then we'll just sell your contract out. And with that money, I invested in my first home. And by investing in that first home, I completely refurbished the home. And once we sold that home, I got a lot of clients, from literally just visiting the house and saying, who decorated this house? And when I sold the house, I got 3 clients. Did
you study about the decorating, the matching between colors, styles? Because you can do something that is from the 1950 or probably before or contemporary or probably, Art Deco. Right. So how did you learn about it? Just intuition or?
I think for me, and I say this to a lot of people that interview me, people that want to follow my career, there's no formula. You can come from different backgrounds, and in my case, I did what I just felt was right, and it was automatic. It was very organic, and I went into it immediately. It wasn't like, there was a big decision or, organically, I basically fell into it.
Were you afraid of doing it?
Of course. There's always a challenge, and there's always a reason to be held back. I think, financial security was one of them. I was very comfortable financially. I mean, I've been working in advertising for over 10 years, and, it was very scary. But at the same time, it was, like I said, it was organic, and it felt natural, and it felt right.
Did you feel happiness at the moment that you decided, okay, this is what you're going to do, and let's go on? I mean,
I think more than happiness, I think it was just the realization that this felt right. This felt something. It was something that I knew that I had wanted to do for a long time. Rewinding back to my college days, once I finished politics and economics in London, I actually went for 2 years to photography school because I knew I wanted to have some creative outlet, and I think that led to a lot of my visual abilities as an interior designer.
So let's talk about designing.
Yes.
And the process of it, because to me, I'm curious myself.
Yes.
So when you meet a client, what is first? You first study the client, who she is in terms of how she dresses or whatever, or you just try to impose an idea that you have?
No, never impose an idea of mine. I think that now at this stage of my life, people already know my style. People come to me because my design concept is a certain way.
But at the beginning,
I think that because of my background, because my mother was on the creative side and my father was on the financial side, I think I've been able to manage to merge those two very successfully. So I know that clients want the project to be very creative, but at the same time, there is the matter of a budget.
Of course.
So I think that I come into a project open-minded. I don't impose any of my ideas to start with. I get to know, like you said, I have to know the client. I have to know whether they have children, they have pets, whether they want a home that is a magazine home, or they want something that's comfortable, that can be lived in, that people can just, put their feet up in the sofas.
Right.
So I think it's a matter of, like you said, you have to get to know the client. There's a lot of, you basically just don't ask, you just ask a lot of questions. And you feel the client.
Yeah, I'm assuming, maybe I'm totally wrong, that this is a high-end kind of business. So
Yes.
a person that is buying or renting an apartment, but buying an apartment, probably doesn't have the discretionary income to call someone like Luigi, please, could you design my home or apartment? Is that right? So you got to go to the high end.
It is right.
People. So how do you get there? Because let's say I want to start in your field. So, and I'm amazing. I have a great taste and all that stuff. And so how do you get to that people?
For me, the way that it happened, like I said, it was about staging homes. I did work with a lot of realtors in Hollywood when I first, decided to do this as a full-time job, and they would bring me a lot of clients,
Did you call them?
No, they called me. I mean, and this is the time
So
before
you're a
the
lucky
internet.
man.
Luck has a lot to do with it, but like Oprah would say, luck is just part of the equation. It's a lot of opportunity as well.
Right, because if you don't have either the talent or the relentlessness
Exactly.
to achieve your goal, there is no luck. I mean,
I think for me, and not only with my interior design business, also before that, it has to do a lot with consistency, and it has to do with determination. And I don't take no for an answer. It's been like that since I was a kid, So when I decided to do this on a full-time basis, I realized that to be able to get to where I am, yes, luck has a lot to do with it, but I also knocked a lot of doors, and it's consistency, and I fell, and I was told no, and I kept going at it, and I think that's part of my success.
did you feel depressed or?
You know what?
About the no's, I mean.
No, I think because also I did dwell into acting and modeling. I got a lot of no's. I got a lot of closed doors, a lot of rejection. And I think that just makes you stronger.
So you had experience about the nose, and
oh yeah,
probably each nose was a motivation to look for the next.
Absolutely,
yes,
absolutely. Especially living in Hollywood and living in Los Angeles, you know that this is a town of broken dreams.